Now on Coast TV News.
Tackling traffic troubles, we look at the project in Lewis that hopes to dial back the danger at one intersection of Coastal Highway. Governor for Gender-Affirming Care, the executive order that Delaware's Matt Meyer is expected to sign later today in Rehoboth Beach. A Helping Home, the latest effort by Sussex County's Habitat for Humanity.
We get a break from the intense heat and humidity today. Then the 90s return this weekend with the humidity levels creeping up as well. A summer heat wave to start next week. I'll tell you how hot it gets coming up next.
This is Coast TV News Today.
And welcome to our 6 o'clock hour. Good morning. I'm Matt Pensick. Lisa Weber is off today. It is Friday, June 20th, 2025. We have reached the weekend and we finally had that summer weekend that we've been waiting for. First Alert meteorologist Bob Trihey joins us now with a look at First Alert weather. How about it, Bob?
Matt, I think all it took was for summer to arrive, which happens tonight, and then we'll have a nice weekend for the first weekend of summer. We did have some wind damage reports from last night's storms. I'll go more in depth on those coming up a little bit later on, but we are seeing some clouds beginning to move offshore. We're clearing things out after last night's storms with a cold front moving through, and then behind this front it is drier air, gorgeous conditions with high pressure building in and a beautiful Friday on the way, and I think that will last into the upcoming weekend. Temperatures much cooler this morning than yesterday, about 10 degrees cooler into the mid to upper 60s with a refreshing northwest wind. So as we go through the morning hours, comfortable 70s, and then by noon lower 80s, and nice at the beaches too with 70s and 80s, 85 in Rehoboth and Lewis later on, 84 in Millsboro, 84 in Delmarva, and much lower humidity levels, and looking good for this evening. And if you're cutting the grass, we're looking good the next several days. However, caution Monday, an intense heat wave building in then. Make sure you stay hydrated on the mower or pushing the mower while you're doing outdoor chores. Much more in your weekend forecast coming up a little bit later on.
Thanks, Bob. And take a look at this. This is what clouds looked like in Ocean City Thursday night. This was around 8 o'clock. This photo was taken by the daughter of our very own Vice President of Draper Digital Media, Ethan Holland. And as you can see, the sky's dark, gloomy, heavy. It did get turbulent in those early evening hours, particularly on the eastern shore. Our top story this half hour, it's in Lewis. It's a long-awaited project at a dangerous intersection set to begin. Deldot says a groundbreaking for the Minos Conaway project set for 10 a.m. The purpose is to divert traffic from Route 1 and provide drivers a way to move around the highway. The project will include 3 roundabouts, and Deldot's Director of Community Relations tells us that this is the best option for safety.
The data that shows that they are significantly safer than traditional four-way intersections. Instead of having 32 potential points of conflict, you're down to 8.
And Deldot says drivers should expect disruptions at some point, and that will come with notifications ahead of time. Here's some more information on how this will change the roads. New Road is getting extended. That will go under Coastal Highway. 2 of the roundabouts are going by the current Nassau Bridge, another off a service road getting on to Minos Conaway. Scheduled to happen this morning in Rehoboth Beach, Governor Matt Meyer is preparing action for providers of gender-affirming care. He's expected to sign an executive order at Camp Rehoboth that protects the personal data of gender-affirming care providers and patients, as well as healthcare professionals, against violations for providing this care in the first state. So on Wednesday, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Tennessee law restricting this type of care for children. Organizers say the governor's event is taking place at 11 a.m. Staying in Rehoboth Beach, and city officials are looking to stay with their current real estate tax rate. And that rate is just under 8 cents per $100 of assessed value. According to City Manager Taylor Tedder, the expected revenue in the new budget with that rate would come in at over $2.5 million. He's recommending at this afternoon's City Commissioner meeting that the rate remain the same for the 2026 fiscal year, which starts in July. In Bethany Beach this afternoon, the town council could make decisions on its municipal election and its town manager. So let's start with town manager Cliff Gravit. The council could vote on extending his contract through January 1st, 2027. Also, council could vote on setting a date for the town election and shifting the voting hours, setting the election date for Saturday, September 6th. Today's meeting takes place at 2 p.m. A special celebration happening today in Laurel as Sussex County Habitat for Humanity welcomes another family home. According to the organization, a house dedication is taking place for the Whitney family. Now, the video you're seeing here is of a similar event for another family in Milford earlier this year. Organizers say today's event takes place at 3 p.m. And get this, on June 25th, next week, in Rehoboth Beach, the organization is celebrating its 200th home dedication. Now taking a live look at Washington, D.C., the White House there, and one of the big stories this week is the U.S. plan for Iran and that nation's ability to bring online nuclear weapons. This morning, a new deadline for President Trump to decide on whether to order a U.S. airstrike targeting Iran's nuclear program. NBC's Alice Barr shows us that lawmakers on Capitol Hill will get their first classified briefing on the situation next week.
Upping the pressure for a diplomatic deal with Iran, President Trump setting a new timeline for his decision on whether the U.S. will strike nuclear targets inside Iran. The White House press secretary quoting the president.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
European diplomats meeting today with Iranian officials in Geneva, while inside the White House, President Trump is increasingly relying on a small group of advisors, including his vice president and secretary of state, to make his choice. That's according to two defense officials and a senior administration official, who also say Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has been sidelined. The president recently publicly dismissed her March testimony that the intelligence community did not believe Iranian leadership had authorized building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having.
The White House asserting Iran has all it needs to make a bomb, and though the process would take time, President Trump is adamant that cannot happen.
Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. I believe they'd use it.
Only the U.S. has the bunker-busting bombs that could destroy a critical underground Iranian nuclear facility, though a decision to strike could provoke an attack on U.S. military bases in the Middle East and interrupt the global energy supply. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And we're just getting started in this hour of CoastTV News Today. Coming up, looking for lifeguards, we have an update on the situation at Assateague Island National Seashore and federal funding cuts. Also, Eastern Shore investment. Which communities in Maryland are getting a boost in funding from what officials say is much needed improvement? And SpaceX test flight fiasco. Check out that, folks. What the company says led to that explosion that you're seeing right there. All that and more as CoastTV News Today continues.
6:11 on our Friday morning. FH Vercam in Cambridge showing some ripples on the water. We've got breezes kicking in out of the northwest behind a cold front, and it's noticeably cooler out the door this morning in the mid to upper 60s. Humidity levels dropping too. There's a northwesterly breeze that is picking up, and that will bring in drier, more comfortable air today as a cold front is now working through Delmarva. Still some clouds along the coast, but it's going to be a gorgeous day and some nice weather to wash the car. Yeah, today, tomorrow, Sunday, all in good shape. So go ahead, add the wax. Not seeing any rain, but a lot of building heat with a heat wave into next week. More on that coming up a little bit later on.
Happening now, Lewis police say they're looking for the people we are showing you here on your screen. According to police, on Sunday, the suspect stole approximately $50,000 worth of merchandise, mainly bracelets, from a local jewelry store. And anyone with information should contact the Lewis Police Department. A teenager is in custody after Laurel police say a trespassing complaint early Wednesday morning led to the discovery of a loaded handgun. This happened just before 3 a.m. at the Hollybrook Apartments. Laurel officers say they found a boy sitting on the steps of a building he did not live in, and police say a search revealed a loaded handgun and marijuana, and that teenager is now facing multiple charges, including possession of a firearm during a felony, resisting arrest, and carrying a concealed deadly weapon. SpaceX Starship exploded in Texas Wednesday night during preparations for its 10th flight test. According to SpaceX, the Starship experienced a big anomaly before starting the test flight. Just look at the fire from that right there. The company said it's working with local officials to respond to the explosion. The last Starship mission in May sent the rocket to space, but that ended in an explosion caused by a propellant leak. Los Angeles Lakers are changing hands for the first time in 5 decades. The Buss family is selling its majority ownership of the team to Mark Walter. He owns the LA Dodgers and is CEO of TWG Global. ESPN is reporting the deal is worth $10 billion. That makes it the highest price ever for a sports team. Rough week? You can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV with personal features, fun things to do each weekend, and more. Sign up now for free at coasttv.com/signup and get your weekly dose of joy directly to your inbox on Fridays.
I'm feeling pretty joyful about this forecast. Beautiful sunrise, tunnel and razor cam, shaping up to be a gorgeous day. We get a break from the intense heat and humidity under sunny skies with a hot and dry weekend. Humidity levels creeping up and then an intense heat wave as we go into the early to middle part of next week. I'll have more details on that coming up in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Time is 6:16, and here's a live look at the sun rising over the Roosevelt Inlet in Lewis. That's a great shot there, no doubt about it. Now, Bob, you're still getting some information about that wind damage from last night.
Yeah, we had a lot of reports, Matt, of trees, power lines across roads, Eastern Shore back through areas of Maryland. But we, got through the storms pretty much unscathed. But Vienna, they had a tree down along the road there. Also, we had thunderstorm wind damage in Snow Hill with a tree down. And then in Crisfield, we actually had trees on power lines that created a fire. So hopefully no big damage there. And then Princess Anne had trees and branches on power lines. So that was a recurring theme, especially farther south. And then Snow Hill, you had a tree that fell across the highway there. Excuse me. Anyway, the storms have now moved to the east, and now we're starting to clear it out as the cold front is now moving through Delmarva. And then on the other side of this front, we'll be ushering in drier and cooler air with high pressure building in. So a much more comfortable Friday on the way. And this will continue into the weekend as this ridge slides over the top of us, providing a warm up too. And then eventually higher humidity will be building in too. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. As opposed to mid to upper 70s that we saw yesterday morning. So much drier and cooler with a northwesterly breeze, and that will be refreshing as we go through the day. As Futurecast shows us warming through the 60s this morning, lower 70s by mid-morning, and then I think by lunchtime, lower 80s away from the coast. Even Lewis and Rehoboth lower 80s, but you'll notice the lower humidity levels, and then mid-80s as we go into the afternoon. So cooler and drier conditions and a gorgeous Friday evening if you're out and about. And we're looking at comfortable conditions overnight. Saturday morning, I think we're starting out in the 60s and 70s. It's going to be a hot afternoon with upper 80s and lower 90s. And I think humidity levels still held in check. But as we go into Sunday, the flow starts picking up out of the southwest. Humidity levels rise. A few clouds Sunday morning. And then by afternoon, 92 to 94, maybe 95 in Lewis. And that humidity also ratcheting up too with 70s and 80s at the beaches. And then the muggy meet, well, we're comfortable, I think, for the next couple of days. And then you can see by Sunday into early next week, very humid to miserable conditions as a dangerous heat wave builds in as we go into next week. But this afternoon, feeling like mid 80s, much more comfortable. And then as we go into Saturday, it's lower 90s away from the coast. And then by Sunday, here comes the more intense heat with triple digit feels like temperatures. And check this out, by Monday afternoon, feeling like 110 to 113. And I think that's day one of 3 days in a row that we're looking at intense heat, Monday through Wednesday of next week. So temperatures well above normal. So make sure you have the air conditioner prepped and ready to go for intense heat next week. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 85 today. Summer arrives tonight at 10:42. The first weekend of summer looking great. 90 Saturday, 94 Sunday. Then that intense heat with mid to upper 90s. Monday through Wednesday feels like temperatures much hotter than that. A little break in the heat wave by Thursday, 91, with some showers and storms.
Thank you, Bob. Downtown Salisbury bringing the summer camp vibes today for its monthly Third Friday celebration. Organizers say the downtown plaza and Unity Square will transform into a playful, nostalgic scene filled with live music, crafts, and family fun. This month's theme is summer camp. Road closures begin at 2 p.m. Parking is free downtown during nights and weekends. Maryland Governor Wes Moore has announced a big investment for underserved communities on the Eastern Shore. This area in Cambridge is designated as a just community. For the next 5 years, the city will have top priority for state grants. In year one, an estimated $400 million is available. It aims to help communities that, according to Moore, historically were neglected.
So you're talking about redlining from home ownership, talking about urban highway construction that erased entire black neighborhoods, and ultimately you're also talking about historic efforts to invest in places that really displaced a lot of people, like urban renewal in the 1980s and 1990s.
Destinations go into effect on July 1st. In total, 13 areas on the Eastern Shore, including 8 in Wycomico County and 4 in Worcester County, have qualified for priority funding. After the break, summer's getting started, and we have all the ways to soak in the season. Your cool things to do are next. Stay with us on Coast TV News Today. New overnight, Delaware State Police are urging drivers to stay calm because they are claiming reports of road rage increases. State Police say aggressive driving often stems from stress, frustration, or impatience. According to State Police, if you do find yourself in a road rage situation, that you should call 911, avoid eye contact, keep a safe distance, and head to a police station or public place if you are being followed. As summer kicks into high gear, Assateague Island National Seashore is reminding visitors about where pets are and aren't allowed. Some of the places officials say dogs are welcome include outside the Assateague Island Visitor Center and at the state park's boat launch and marina. Places pets aren't strictly off limits include the nature trails and Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge. There are mixed messages about the future of lifeguards at Assateague Island National Seashore. Local leaders have expressed concern of unguarded beaches this summer due to federal budget cuts. And at a recent U.S. House Natural Resources Oversight Committee hearing, Congresswoman Jen Kiggins, who represents Virginia's Eastern Shore, asked the Interior Department about the loss.
You have any information on this issue, and if we can expect an exemption for lifeguards as the summer vacation schedule begins and visitation increase?
First time I've heard about this lifeguard issue at this particular park, but under the fact that we've got many positions still open for summer hiring, we should just visit, because I would think that a lifeguard would be seasonal and be summer. So I would think that it would qualify under that. So I would think they would have hiring authority to be able to hire lifeguards as temporary summer employees, because we've got open recs for that.
Burgum saying he does not believe seasonal workers like those summer lifeguards are impacted by any federal hiring freezes. And with what we're expecting at the beach today, Bob, it must be nice being able to deliver good news.
I know, and Elisa Weber's not here today to partake in this good beach news because when she was here...
That's a shame.
I know, it was like lousy beach weather, but now it's nice, and it's going to be a great day on the beaches, Matt. Chincoteague and Assateague, lots of sunshine. Lower 80s in Chincoteague, around 80 in Assateague. UV index incredibly high, almost bordering on extreme, so really be careful. That sun angle really high. Fenwick Island and Ocean City, 70s and low 80s, waves around 1 to 2 feet, just gorgeous out there. On the bay side the next 3 days, mid-80s today in Cambridge, and then warming through the 90s, a beautiful summer weekend for you, and a little cooler into Crisfield, but everybody gets in on very intense heat as we go into early next week. In fact, dangerous heat for the first few days of summer. I'll talk about that and have much more on your weekend forecast coming up in the next half hour.
Yeah, this weekend's kind of a big deal on the coast. It's the first official weekend of summer 2025. The heat is here, and so are those plenty of cool things to do. Christina DiRoberta shows us what's in store.
Get ready to crank it up this weekend at Delaware's longest-running music festival, June Jam. The all-day music festival in Houston is rocking its 47th year with local bands, big sounds, and good vibes. Gates open at 10 a.m. Saturday. Dogfish Head in Milton is throwing a big birthday bash Saturday night, celebrating 30 years of beer. There will be live music and plenty of pints to go around. Or soak up the sights and smells at the Lavender and Lambs Festival in Millsboro. All weekend long, you'll find sheep shearing, lavender cooking demos, and more at Brittingham Farms. And for a moment of reflection, Wings of Hope returns to Milton Memorial Park Saturday morning. It's a chance to honor those impacted by cancer with family fun and a beautiful butterfly release. For more details, you can visit CoastTV.com and click on Cool Things to Do.
Now on Coast TV News.
Tackling traffic troubles, we look at the project in Lewis that hopes to dial back the danger at one intersection of Coastal Highway. Governor for Gender-Affirming Care, the executive order that Delaware's Matt Meyer is expected to sign later today in Rehoboth Beach. A Helping Home, the latest effort by Sussex County's Habitat for Humanity.
We get a break from the intense heat and humidity today. Then the 90s return this weekend with the humidity levels creeping up as well. A summer heat wave to start next week. I'll tell you how hot it gets coming up next.
This is Coast TV News Today.
June 20th, 2025. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Pensick. Lisa Weber is off today. It is 6:31. We got Friday vibes already underway, and First Alert meteorologist Bob Trihey joins us now to help you prepare as you make your way out the door. Good morning, Bob.
Yeah, big time Friday vibes, Matt. I mean, you know, we've got summer coming tonight, and the first weekend of summer's looking good. Nice first weekend in weeks. So we're looking forward to that. And skies are clearing out this morning after last night's and evening storms with a cold front. And those clouds are moving offshore now with the cold front. And we're looking at drier air building in across the area. A beautiful Friday, last day of spring, going out on a beautiful note with drier conditions for today. And this high will keep us nice and dry, I think, into the upcoming weekend. Out the door, considerably cooler this morning than yesterday. We were in the mid to upper 70s yesterday, mid to upper 60s right now, and the winds have shifted to the northwest, bringing in that drier air. So looking at a gorgeous day. We're looking at 60s warming into the 70s mid-morning with a refreshing breeze, lower humidity by noon. 81 Salisbury, 80 in Millsboro, 80 in Milton, and the beach is beautiful. 70s and 80s for you, but bring that higher SPF sunscreen because it is going to be a strong sun. 81 at Bethany Beach, 85 in Rehoboth and Lewis at 3:30, mid-80s inland. And if you're out and about on your Friday evening, looking fantastic weather-wise. And the drive cast this morning, I gave it the green light for cooler and drier conditions. Lots of sunshine, sunny and pleasant for the afternoon and evening commute. And a beautiful weekend on the way, followed by an intense heat wave into early next week. More on that coming up a little bit later on.
All right, thanks, Bob. And our top story this half hour is in Lewis. A long-awaited project at a dangerous intersection is set to begin. Deldot says a groundbreaking for the Minos Conaway project is set for 10 a.m. Now, the purpose is to divert traffic from Route 1 and provide drivers a way to move around the highway. Project will include 3 roundabouts, and Deldot says drivers should expect disruptions at some point. That will come with notifications ahead of time. Here's some more information on how this will change the roads. New road is getting extended, and it will go under Coastal Highway. 2 roundabouts are going by the current Nassau Bridge. The 3rd roundabout is a service road getting on to Minos Conaway. Last night, a church in Lewis filled with members of the organization Voices United. They say they were there to speak out against hate, and Coast TV's Zakia Jennings was also there with a look at a new initiative in Sussex County.
Nearly every pew at St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Lewis was full Thursday evening. Attendees listened to politicians, faith leaders, students, social workers, police, and business leaders, all talking about a new statewide initiative, Hate Has No Home Here. Bonnie Tammers-Moore with the local organization Speak Out Against Hate says,
we live in a time where hatred is so prevalent and where it's increasing, and particularly it's increasing from people with power. So we have to really stand up against hate, and we have to do it in a way that people see it and make sure that hate is not normalized in our country.
The initiative aims to have the windows and/or lawns of every home, business, faith house, and public facility displaying a sign or banner with this statement. Emerson Sheldon, a 17-year-old student at Cape Henlopen High School, encourages his peers to be agents of change.
The real change is going to be made by the people, and the government, they rely on our votes, so we need to let them know how we feel, and they aren't going to make the right decisions without us telling them what we need them to do.
As the lights at St. Peter's Episcopal Church turn off and the doors begin to close, one thing remains as a community faith house, and that is their pledge that hate has no home here.
It tells people who we are, both as citizens and as human beings, when we stand up and say that hate has no home here.
In Lewis, Zakia Jennings, Coast TV News.
Special celebration happening today in Laurel as Sussex County Habitat for Humanity welcomes another family home. According to the organization, a house dedication is set for the Whitney family. Now, the video you're seeing here is for another family in Milford. This took place earlier in the year. Organizers say today's event takes place at 3 p.m. And on June 25th, next week, organization is celebrating its 20th home dedication. That one is taking place in Rehoboth Beach. Scheduled to happen this morning in Rehoboth Beach, Governor Matt Meyer preparing action for providers of gender-affirming care. He's expected to sign an executive order at Camp Rehoboth that protects the personal data of gender-affirming care providers and patients, as well as healthcare professionals, against violations for providing this care in the first state. It was on Wednesday the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Tennessee law restricting this type of care for children. Organizers say the governor's event is taking place at 11 a.m. Also in Rehoboth Beach this afternoon, we're expecting that the city commissioners will vote to keep the real estate tax rate at just under 8 cents per $100 of assessed value. That's what City Manager Taylor Tedder is recommending. He says the expected revenue in the new budget with that rate would be over $2.5 million. New fiscal year in Rehoboth Beach begins July 1st. And also, the commissioners in Rehoboth Beach are reviewing nominating petitions submitted by candidates hoping to appear on the ballot. This process will determine if each candidate meets the qualifications to run in this year's municipal election. According to the agenda, that annual election is set for Saturday, that's August 9th, and today's council meeting takes place at 2 p.m. Fenwick Island officials recently confirmed candidates for the town's upcoming election. However, after doing so, it was then determined there's no need for an election, as 4 candidates filed for the 4 available seats. The town says incumbents Natalie Magdeburger, Jackie Napolitano, and Kurt Zanalotti will continue as mayor, secretary, and council member respectively. They will be joined by Lucy Wilder, a longtime volunteer and active member of several town committees. Now taking a live look at Washington, D.C., tariff turmoil continuing as Canada now retaliating against some U.S. trade policies. On July 21st, it's set to impose a new tariff rate quota on steel. It could make American-made steel less appealing to Canadian buyers. U.S. duties on Canadian steel and aluminum are 50% right now. U.S. and Canada are committed to reaching some kind of trade agreement in 30 days after talks during this week's G7 summit.
We're going to adjust them to levels consistent with the progress that's made at that point on the broader trade arrangements with the United States.
And for now, U.S. businesses are paying a 25% tariff for certain Canadian and Mexican goods. More news to get to in this final half hour. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Coast celebrates Juneteenth. We recap some of the events that took place Thursday in honor of the newest federal holiday. Also, several exciting annual events taking place today. One of those is right there, the Berlin bathtub races. We'll break down what to expect and historic designation details, the options Rehoboth Beach is considering to recognize what officials say is the history of the boardwalk. Stay with us on Coast TV News today.
6:41 on this last day of spring. Tyndall's Casual Furniture Cam 65 and Laurel's Sunsplash camera there, and comfortable temperatures this morning into the mid 60s, some upper 60s at the coast. And you'll notice when you step outside, much more comfortable humidity levels as we have a northwest breeze kicking in. And we're looking at clouds clearing out as the front has moved through Delmarva, and that's going to usher in much drier air with high pressure building in. We've got a beautiful Friday on the way. An excellent forecast, excellent putting, Matt. Look at that right in the cup, center cut. Not as hot today, comfortable humidity levels, but make sure you have the sunscreen, 85 degrees. Umbrella giveaway winner today is Phyllis Musser from Ellendale. Congratulations to her from Paul Davis and Coast TV.
Bob, that was a U.S. Open winning putt there. Happening today, with beach officials are taking a closer look at how to preserve and commemorate one of the town's most iconic landmarks, the boardwalk. Boardwalk and Beach Committees meeting this morning and are reviewing a report outlining options for potential historical designation. Representatives from Delaware Historical Markers, the National Register of Historic Places, and National Historic Landmarks all are expected to be at that meeting at City Hall. Heads up in Salisbury, the tennis courts at City Park are closing starting today. The city says crews will resurface the courts to improve safety, and that closure lasts until June 30th.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Today marks one of our busiest of the summer so far on DSN. A pair of yearly events both take place tonight on DSN. If you're looking for some fun events to watch this summer, look no further than Berlin. We will be broadcasting the 35th annual Berlin Bathtub Races live on DSN tonight. 15 different businesses bring their best bathtubs to race on the biggest stage. We'll have the pre-race parade, all of the races, along with capturing all of the excitement from the local community. Pohanka's coming off a victory in its first year in the races. Will they repeat, or will a new champion be crowned? The broadcast will start at 6:05 p.m. with the Coast Life Preview Show taking place on WRDE beginning at 4 p.m. And also tonight, it's a DSN doubleheader. On the gridiron at the University of Delaware on DSN+, we'll have the annual Blue Gold football game between the best seniors in the first state. Team Gold is the one to root for Delmarva fans, with Delmarva talent making up 25 of the 39 roster spots. Team Gold is trying to avenge last year's 32-2 loss to the Upstate squad. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. from Delaware Stadium in Newark. And make sure to download the DSN app and subscribe to DSN Plus so you don't miss out on any of our thrilling action this evening. That'll do it for sports. Have a great day, everyone.
And here's what's coming up tonight on DSN. You saw almost all of what we're seeing here. It's that time of year again, the annual Berlin Bathtub Races. You can see that event live starting at 6 p.m. And then at 10:30, it's the final score. On the DSN Plus app, you can watch the bathtub races and the Blue Gold football game. That's in Newark. That starts at 7. Speaking of 7, we're heading to a Game 7 in the NBA Finals because last night the Pacers crushed OKC 108-91, and in that Game 6 win, Indy built a 28-point lead in the second half. They cruised from there. So now we have one game to decide it all. That Game 7 will be Sunday night.
We're seeing a few high wispy clouds on the Spicer Brothers Cam in Salisbury. Otherwise, a gorgeous Friday. Great end to spring. A break from the intense heat and humidity today under sunny skies. A hot and dry weekend, humidity levels creeping up, and a heat wave to start next week. Looking pretty intense. I'll have those forecast details coming up in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Time is 6:47, and you are looking high above Laurel on this Friday morning. It's the last morning of spring as Bob, summer starts tonight.
It does, Matt, and we're looking at the longest day of the year heading into tomorrow, and the summer solstice, tonight as we're checking out the seasons here, and the summer solstice is today, later today and this evening, 10:42 p.m. Now, the word solstice, sol means sun, stis, it means to stand still, and the sun is at this highest point in the sky as we go into tomorrow with the longest day of the year, 15 hours and approximately 17 minutes. And the days gradually get shorter until the winter solstice, when wintertime we only have 9 hours of daylight or so, and 5 minutes tacked on too, but the day's slowly getting shorter as we go into the weekend. Here's clouds and radar. We're clearing things out after last night's storms. We have some clouds hanging on along the coast, but a cold front is sweeping those out to sea. And in the wake of this front, a refreshing air mass building in with high pressure. That means lots of sunshine today, more comfortable humidity levels. And then this high will drift over us over the weekend and start to percolate a little bit. And we'll see high pressure at the surface and aloft with building heat and humidity, especially into early next week. Temperatures out the door much more tolerable than yesterday morning. We're into the mid to upper 60s with a northwesterly breeze, and that will be refreshing today. You'll definitely feel the lower humidity. By mid-morning on Futurecast in the low 70s, and not as hot today. By noon, we're into the low 80s and even 80 in Rehoboth and Lewis, and then mid-80s inland this afternoon with the comfortable humidity levels. If you're out and about on this Friday evening, looking picture perfect and clear skies and a few clouds as we go through the overnight hours. Otherwise, mainly clear skies starting out in the 60s and 70s tomorrow morning. It's going to be a hot Saturday afternoon, upper 80s and lower 90s away from the beaches. And I think the humidity level still held in check. But then we get into a southwesterly flow on Sunday. So mid-morning already well into the 80s. And I think by Sunday afternoon, low to mid 90s and a touch more humid and getting pretty warm at the beaches as well. Muggy meter, we're comfortable, I think, for the next couple of days, and then humid to very humid to miserable early next week. That's when an intense heat wave kicks in. But feeling like mid 80s this afternoon with the lower humidity, lower 90s Saturday. And then we start feeling like triple digits as we go into Sunday, then getting really intense heading into Monday, feeling like 100 and teens. And I think that'll be the case Monday through Wednesday with temperatures well above normal. I think this is bordering on dangerous heat as we go into next week, the first serious heat wave of the summer. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 85 today, and then 90 Saturday. Finally, a good-looking weekend, 94 Sunday, then that intense heat with mid to upper 90s Monday through Wednesday. A little break from the heat Thursday with some showers and storms and highs in the low 90s.
Thank you, Bob. Juneteenth celebrations were in full swing across Delmarva on Thursday, the holiday commemorating the end of slavery in America. In Rehoboth Beach, people gathered at the YMCA for a question and answer session with Joseph Lawson from the Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice. Lawson believes the holiday is important because there are still battles that need fighting.
I want to celebrate the fact that although there are struggles still ahead today and there's a lot that we have not achieved, that we believe that America will continue to grow, continue to prosper, and continue to move toward a society that fulfills Dr. King's dream of a colorblind society where all people are treated equally and fairly, regardless of their race, creed, and color.
One of the things Joseph noted was that slavery, not that long ago, his great-grandparents experienced slavery in their lifetimes. Right now it's 6:51 this morning and time to check in with our coastal pet of the day. And this hour, this coastal pet is brought to us from the Brandywine Valley SPCA. That is Maddie on your screen. Maddie is a sweetheart. She loves attention and she loves to explore nature, treats, and learning new tricks. So if you want to adopt Maddie or any other lovable pet, head to the Brandywine Valley SPCA. Now, we want to see more of the pets that you have at your home. Scan that QR code at the top there and get your pictures of their friends to us here at Coast TV, and then watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m. to see all the pets we feature. Here's what you can expect this afternoon on Coast Life at 4.
Happy Friday, Coast Life, and not just any Friday. Today at 4, our show is going to look a little different because we are live, baby.
That's right, we're not going to be on the couch. We're going to be out in Berlin at the Berlin Bathtub Races. We are going to be talking about everything going on with the races themselves. We're going to talk about some mermaids.
Yeah, we're going to be stopping in at Una Bella Salute. We're going to be talking about different clothing and apparel shops, just all the fun that makes Berlin so special and one of America's coolest small towns. All that fun is happening today at 4 on Coast Life.
6:55 and time for things you need to know before you go. In Lewis, a long-awaited project at a dangerous intersection is set to begin. Deldot says a groundbreaking for the Minos Conaway project set for 10 a.m. Purpose is to divert traffic from Route 1 and provide drivers a way to move around the highway. That project will include 3 roundabouts. Scheduled for this morning in Rehoboth Beach, Governor Matt Meyer preparing action for providers of gender-affirming care. He's expected to sign an executive order at Camp Rehoboth that protects the personal data of gender-affirming care providers and patients, as well as healthcare professionals against violations from providing this care in the first state. 6:56 now. We got a quick look at your forecast before you head out the door. And Bob, let's have ourselves a summer weekend.
Let's have that, Matt. The first nice weekend, in 3 weeks or so, forever, it seems like. And this is the last day of spring, and spring going out like it should. Comfortable, a little cooler. We have a refreshing breeze today, and we're warming through the 70s into the mid-80s, but much more comfortable as we go into the afternoon. About 85. Summer arrives this evening at 10:42. Paul Davis 10-day forecast. The 90s are back pretty quickly Saturday. 90, I think the humidity still held in check, and then it starts getting hot and humid, well, not humider, that's not a word, Bob. 94 and muggier on Sunday. And then seriously, though, an intense heat wave Monday through Wednesday, mid to upper 90s. I think heat index sees at least 110. So that's going to be the big story as we head into the early to middle part of next week. Some storms Thursday, 91, 85 Friday, and a little cooler into next weekend and staying dry.
All right, thanks, Bob, and thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News Today. The Today Show is coming up next at 7 a.m., and then we'll be back with Coast TV News midday at 11 a.m. with all the spectacular weather. Got a good tip for you. Why don't you grab your phone and download the Coast TV News Weather app? That way you can get the hour-by-hour forecast for your area. So until we see you on Coast TV News Midday, have a great Friday morning, everybody.